Hello there, and welcome to What's Your Story? Today we have two guests, and you're going to be very interested in what they have to say because it has to do with your physical fitness, and that's what's so important, especially when you start getting my age. You want to start thinking about what you haven't done, what you need to do, and where you're going, right? My guests are Neil Palma. You've seen Neil before. He's been with us before.
Hello.
And Arielle Gainsberg Meyer. Did I say it right?
Yes.
Oh, great. Welcome.
Thank you.
Arielle is with YA Partners Group, and Neil is with the Premier Physical Therapy and Pulmonary Rehab.
Yes,
Did I
ma'am.
say that correctly?
Yes, ma'am.
Great. Okay. Well, I'm glad to have you both back here today because I think it's so important for us to talk to my audience, who's a little bit older than the average TV viewer, about the importance of their health and what they need to do to take care of themselves. So tell me first, what is YA Partners Group? It has to do with Fit Minds, I know that, and I know that
Yes.
you guys are working together,
We are,
but I
yeah.
need to know how and why and all
Yes.
that stuff.
Okay. YA Partners is a Nevada-based company that focuses on cognitive health, brain health, what's also called, and that means anywhere from healthy seniors to those that have cognitive issues like dementia and any stages of that. That is our specialization. That's who we support.
And so, and Neil, you work in rehab predominantly, but how does what you do fit together?
Well, we work with the older adults,
Like me.
and one thing I noticed is not only that this patient needed help physically, but also mentally. And I've experienced a lot in my family regarding brain health. That's as we age, it's not really it's not as good as when we were younger, 20, 30 years younger. So I happened to run into Miss Arielle, and we talk about how we can help the patients with problem with brain health, and she will be able to help us with that issue. And we end up we agreed to partner up and start reaching out to those people who needed this kind of treatment.
I see. How do I know if I'm starting to get dementia or I'm needing help?
That's a great question, and I think it is a fear of many people that they don't know if what's happening is normal aging or if it's something that they should be concerned for. So there are certain ways. There are brief memory cognitive screenings that we can do, and our team are certified to do a lot of that. MOCA assessments. We partner with the Alzheimer's Foundation of America to do memory screenings for free. So there's easy ways to be able to take a screen like that, and then usually the concerns get relayed to your doctor. You'd want to speak to your doctor and ask those questions, but we can, as a company, that's partially what we do. We help navigate people with exactly that concern. If something is normal forgetfulness or if it's more concerning.
Yes.
Some amount of forgetsies or senior moments is normal. So what's most important is not to be fearful of it, but to reach out to someone, either your doctor or a company like ours, others, that can help navigate it for you and sit together and hear what's happening, what your concerns are, and then be able to screen and guide you further.
Oh, thank you. And what other services do you provide?
So our company, YA Partners, has a three-leg approach. So we work with the clients themselves that are having potential or concerns about memory loss through Fit Minds. Fit Minds is a company that has been in existence in America, and it was based in Canada since 2010, and it was brought to America, and it's across the country. It's new to Nevada. So we work with FitMinds, which I can share more about. It's a cognitive stimulation program where the coaches are certified and trained, and we work one-on-one with clients that have concerns and or in small groups or larger groups. So that's for the clients or the persons that are experiencing a concern.
Yes.
And then we work with families of those clients or loved ones, educating and supporting them in the way of what is happening with the client and what is happening with their loved one, so they understand it better and can support them better in their relations, communication. There's a lot of things that happen that the families or caregivers don't understand it, and then it can make it harder and worse for both.
Right.
So we do that with families, and we do what I've mentioned, the MOCA assessments. We do memory cognitive testing to be able to provide that information to the doctors for potential diagnoses if there are concerns. So that's the second. And then the third, we do caregiver training. So that would be either family members or professional caregivers that don't understand cognitive impairment or dementia. And we partner with the CARES program. It's a program that's been 25 years in America. And they're the only Medicare certified dementia training program that's online. So we've partnered with them, and we help provide that training to caregivers where they get certified and they understand different aspects of what happens with dementia. And that's focused and mostly for facilities or private caregivers in the homes that the staff need more training. So that can happen in hospitals. There's programs specifically for hospitals, facilities, and home-based care.
That's amazing. Yeah.
So
I think it's so important to train the family in what to expect and how to deal with it, because we don't know what to expect when we're living with someone and now they don't remember anything, or they get angry, because sometimes I know when my friend loses his temper, it's not about anything other than he's frustrated with the fact that he can't make himself understood. Exactly. So I think it's really good to train the families.
Yes.
Yeah.
It's part of what we do, and Neil and I have talked, and him being a physical therapist, myself being an occupational therapist for a long time, we've discussed that this population doesn't get a lot of support in the medical system.
Yes.
There's not a lot that people know what to do for it. So being able to serve this specific population and their families is why I
Well, Neil was my physical therapist when I had both my knee replaced and my hip replaced. And I'll tell you, he was more than just a physical therapist, because he listened to me. He addressed my concerns. He made me know that somebody really, really cared about me.
Yes.
And occasionally he would even just call and say, "How are you doing today?
Yeah.
You know, are you?" And so I found that it was a good experience to go through this, because he treated me so well, and that was pretty exciting. So I was excited when Neil told me that he was partnering up with you to also help people with their cognitive issues.
Yeah. We have that in common, and it's one of the reasons that we've chosen, if we're going to be serving people in a clinic setting, when we do that we chose to partner with Neil and his company, because that connection of person to person is so important, especially in this field of cognitive health. Because people are scared, they're confused, they're isolated a lot of times, and the connection that you mentioned just in standard physical therapy applies greatly in cognitive health, because they end up having someone walking the road with them.
Yes.
And this is a road. This is, not just a rehab from an injury, but this is a long road. So that's one of the most important factors for us in serving this community, is making connections with them, and relationships are built, and then people aren't alone through their journey.
So how does the cognitive stimulation work?
So Fit Minds itself, it's a company that's based in Tampa, Florida. Yaw Partners is a certified Fit Minds provider, and we're the only one in Nevada. It is across the country and in Canada in facilities, but we've brought it here to Nevada, and we have a team here. So it works in a model that's called cognitive stimulation therapy. So there's a lot of research and evidence regarding the expression "use it or lose it" of the brain. So if areas aren't being challenged, if we're sedentary and we're not stimulating different areas of thinking, they naturally would progress over time with aging, and with a disease process like Alzheimer's or many other types of diseases that cause a dementia, they progress more rapidly. So what Fit Minds does is it provides that cognitive stimulation in 5 different areas in every session. So those areas are language or music, and you had mentioned about communication. That's often becomes a challenge, finding the words,
Yes.
communicating. So language and music, visual, spatial, critical thinking, logic, memory itself, short-term or long-term memory, and computation, mathematics skills. So in every session, those activities for those 5 areas get provided to the client, and they work with a coach, a certified coach, either one-on-one in person or virtually. We coach virtually. I have a 91-year-old client that she clicks her link every week, and she can't wait to get on her session, and she's been coaching with us for a year virtually.
Oh, that's wonderful.
You can do that virtually, and or in groups, small groups, or in larger groups in a community setting. And the coach facilitates the questions and the activity, and it's fun for them. It becomes something that's engaging, and we try to keep it fun, because there's a lot of stress and fear about forgetting things. Sometimes there's a lot of stigma that goes along with a potential diagnosis, or someone having forgetfulness or a dementia diagnosis, Alzheimer's or something. So in the coaching relationship, it's a place where the person is familiar with their coach, and they build a relationship over time. That it's not only the activities that the sessions are doing, it's that connection and helping the person be engaged with it, have stimulation, but also have fun and feel more confident and less anxious and fearful about it, because actually a lot of anxiety about it can cause more brain freeze for people.
Yeah.
So that's what we do.
So you provide like a safe environment where a person can feel comfortable with openly admitting, I can't remember, or this is a problem.
Yes, and the coach has, we call it the coach approach. Fit Minds training and the certification calls it the coach approach. It's not a teacher-student, are you getting the activities right or wrong? It's we're doing this together, and that support that they get is a safe environment, and it's something that builds relationship. Our coaches, our Las Vegas coaches, have had clients. We've started Fit Minds in Nevada last year in 2022, and though our clients in Nevada have been with their coaches the whole year, 1, 2, 3 times a week, and those relationships go on, and they become kind of a bit like family, you know?
Kind of like I feel about him
exactly,
now. Yeah, because
exactly.
we've been together so much.
Yeah, exactly.
And I have another surgery coming up, so get ready.
Okay.
Now, many people play games like on their phones, or just they work the crossword puzzle every day or something. Is that helpful?
That's helpful. it's referred to as brain games, as a general term, and those can be very helpful. Anything we're doing that's something that's new, so it's not the same every time, and that is stimulating, can definitely be helpful. What often happens is people do the same activity all the time, and then they use it or lose it. Other parts aren't getting challenged.
So they need to do something in all 5 of those areas.
Or vary areas. Sometimes we say, if it's not Fit Minds or brain games, anything that's a new activity that challenges learning a new language, taking dance lessons, something where you're learning new is a factor that helps with brain health.
Isn't that interesting?
Yeah. As far as brain health goes, there's a lot of research that shows many things that can prevent. Some research shows it can actually prevent a diagnosis from coming, because usually dementia, Alzheimer's, other dementias start that only the person really notices things, and that's called like a subjective impairment. And then it goes to like a mild cognitive impairment, or what's called MCI, where it's not yet diagnosed as dementia, but there's clearly some challenges. And then if things aren't addressed, or if the disease progresses, then usually years it can take till the diagnosis happens. So in that early period, there's a lot that can be done, what's called now brain health. On AARP, there's a lot of information about brain health from medical doctors that have done research that shows there are 6 or 7 factors that healthy people and or those that have concerns can do to help either prevent a diagnosis from coming or delay progression, how fast things get worse, or be able to maintain their skills longer.
Right.
So those brain health factors, one of those is physical fitness.
Yeah, I was just going to ask Neil, will having people come for physical therapy, will that help them to delay the loss of memory or the dementia, being more physically fit, working out, doing the exercises physically? Does that make a difference?
It helps. It helps. Just like what Arielle said, if a person is learning something, not just, mentally, but also physically, it will help the delay process of dementia and all that. So yeah, exercising every day, even walking and doing something new physically every day will help slow down, not totally cure it, but slow down the progression of dementia. So yeah, this thing is very personal to me. Like I told you before, because my grandpa died of Alzheimer's,
right,
and also my father-in-law.
Oh, really?
My father-in-law passed away 3 years ago, and the disease process was just so fast that he passed away 4 years after he got diagnosed. So it's just crazy that I was so happy when I met Arielle, and now I can at least do something to reach out, like I said, to those patients that needed help when it comes to brain health. So yeah, I'm just so excited about this partnership with Arielle.
It's interesting, since I met you and I've learned about this. I went to my regular physician, my what do you call him, your general physician, the person that's your doctor, right?
Primary.
I went to him, primary, that's the right word. So I went to him recently, and he said to me, we're doing tests to find out about your whether or not you might be susceptible to having dementia or Alzheimer's. So we're going to do some blood tests. Would you like to do it? Blah, blah. And I said, sure, why not? Because I forgot to I asked somebody the other night at my house, would you like a cup of tea? And she said yes, and I never gave it to her. So I thought, well, maybe I better check out why I'm forgetting this stuff. So I went in and I had the blood test done. Now they did all these blood tests. Now what does that tell?
So, oftentimes the doctor, when there's a change of cognitive status, it's not an immediate diagnosis of dementia. They have to rule out that there's not some other factors that could be causing it. So sometimes if you've heard of like a urinary tract infection or deficiencies in vitamin B, D, etc., or other factors that can be happening, they want to rule out that it's not something treatable and temporary.
I see.
And then there are blood tests that can detect, and they look into the genes. If you have a gene factor for a specific type of Alzheimer's or other conditions, they can look a little bit more into the genetics, and there's certain indicators to know if you might have those genetic factors or not. So that's usually what the doctors will do first, is rule out anything else that can be causing it, because there's many people, for example, they get a urinary tract infection and it looks just like dementia. Actually, other factors like depression or there's a lot of research that shows diabetes, high blood pressure, cardiac issues. They call it comorbidities, or diagnoses that come along with dementia that can, there can be factors that show that you're more likely, for example, to have dementia with some of these other diagnoses.
I see.
So the doctor's doing first all the medical checks to see what's happening, and then usually what would be done next would be like a cognitive screening. Sometimes they'll do MRIs of the brain, depending on what stage they're looking at in the evaluation process. Sometimes they don't need to even do MRIs if they see everything else is looking okay. So we always refer to the doctor, because the doctors are the ones that will give a diagnosis.
Right.
Even though we are certified to do our cognitive screenings with the MOCA, the Montreal Cognitive Assessment, it's a very specific test that's short, about 10 minutes, but it helps. It's very sensitive to detecting early stages. So even if they have those scores, and we see them, we never would diagnose someone from that. We send it to the doctor, and along with other things like blood work or testing, the doctors would give the diagnosis.
I see.
But that process can take a long time for people, especially with the waiting list for medical care here.
Yes.
So in the interim, that's a lot what we do, is we're helping support, because regardless if a diagnosis is positive or not, like we had said, brain health can be preventative too. So we are big supporters of providing that education and support for brain health, physical exercise, and those other factors prior to even having a diagnosis. So it's a long process, and if you can take action early, it helps people to feel like they're having some control over the process and not just waiting for some hammer to drop to get diagnosed, and then they're 2 years later in the process.
That makes sense. Who can benefit from your services?
So as I mentioned, we work from healthy seniors that have no diagnosis, that are just wanting to stay sharp. It's the name of the higher level Fit Minds program based in Canada. They call the higher level Stay Sharp. It's for healthy adults that are
sharp, that want to stay that way.
They want to stay sharp, and like I said, my little 91-year-old, she says, I want to keep my mind fit, so we're doing Fit Mind. So healthy seniors, to anyone that is having concerns about memory loss, to anyone that already has a diagnosis, even if it's mild cognitive impairment or early stages, new diagnosed, that don't know what to do, all the way to advanced stages. The program, the Fit Minds program, adapts to that person's level. So all those 5 areas we mentioned, they can be a level 5 that they're very strong, or a level 1 that they're quite advanced, and our coaches adapt the program. So
but the sooner they can get into it, the better they will be.
Correct.
Right?
Yes.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah, because it will help delay any issues.
Yes, yeah. And so cognitive stimulation which is what FitMinds does, is one of those 7 brain health factors. So the earlier the better. The exercise, diet, certain recommendations of what they call the MIND diet, or diet, sleep, the exercise, cognitive stimulation, and socialization. Those are all things that can be done to prevent or delay. So FitMinds is one of those that we use.
One big problem with our older generation now is they live alone.
Yes.
There's no socialization at all, and they don't have transportation to go anywhere. And when they're at home, they just sit there, watch TV, and sometimes they just sit there and do nothing. So technically, the brain doesn't work at all, and that's where the disease process comes in, and all that. It's very important for a lot of our people to at least do something.
Yes,
every
yes.
day.
Well, that was another one of the things I liked about your service, is that you actually offered to pick me up and take me there.
Yeah.
So, I couldn't very well say, well, I can't come because I don't have transportation, because you said, we'll be your transportation.
Yeah.
We'll bring you, we'll take you home.
Yes.
Well, that's one of our services in the rehab, that we will provide transportation for those patients who has no means at all to get to the clinic and get treated. Before I opened my clinic, I used to work. I'm still now working with home-based patients, and one reason why they're getting home health services is because they cannot get to the clinic,
Right.
because they don't have transportation. So when I open a clinic, I promise myself I have to reach out to those people, provide transportation, to at least bring them to my clinic once or twice a week.
Yes.
And get some, get those muscles going. So.
Exactly. So what can people expect as an outcome from receiving your services?
So, look, as we know, there's not a medical cure at the moment for the tough diseases, Alzheimer's, Parkinson's. There's several other diseases that come along with dementia. So there's not a medical cure, but what we say and what we've seen in our clients and in many that have been working with FitMinds or our different services, the outcome and the goal is an improved quality of life, and hopefully staying as independent as possible and as safe as possible for as long as possible. So unfortunately, because there's not a cure yet, there's many clinical trials. We can't say that nothing we will be doing or that the medical system can do now can cure it. But we can walk a road with the clients that their stress is decreased, the conflict with their loved ones in families or caregiving is decreased, and to bring some hope that they're not alone, and they're not, as Neil mentioned, many are isolated anyway, but those with this condition often don't know what to do or where to get help. So just that connection of having others around them. Usually we have testimonies from so many clients that when we started, they were either it's a stigma of the diagnosis, they stopped socializing with friends, and they were terrified of what's to come, and now they're coping so well, and sometimes the marital relationship or the family relationship of how the family's handling it is better. So that quality of life and decreased stress about the process, because it's a devastating diagnosis, whatever the diagnosis is.
Yeah.
My own family has recently experienced it, and so understand it from the clinical side as well as from the being, a family member side. And if you can go through it together and be informed and aware of why things are happening and what's happening, it's less fearful for them.
How will I recognize, like, say, when my sister was older but she's passed away now, but I didn't recognize that she had signs of dementia because she lived by herself in Utah and I lived here and I only saw her once in a while. How do we recognize the signs? What do we look for in order to know that there's a problem there that they need to go and get involved in Fit Minds?
So it's hard to do over the phone. I can tell you personally, I've had phone contact with my family member for a while, and a lot of that automatic talk and back and forth, it sounds fine until you spend time with them, and you'll usually, if it's progressed enough, you'll start to see repeatedly asking the same question, not recalling information that's more than just a little forgetsy, So if there's disorientation, or they're telling you things, for example, like I couldn't remember how to get to the store today. Something's not normal.
That's one of the things she said to me was, my goodness, the other day I couldn't figure out how to get home.
Yeah, so things like that are more concerning than I forgot where I put my keys, which I forget all the time, or my glasses, or etc. So, asking, not being able to remember what month or date, or, losing track of the days, that can show itself kind of subtle. Not, that kind of disorientation is not normal.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Well, I don't know. When we live by ourselves, very often we don't know what day of the week it is.
Yeah, because we don't have anywhere to go to that's needed. Yeah.
Yeah. Let me ask you this. This is just my own curiosity. Because of having cancer previously in my life, and the doctor that I had totally changed my diet, does food and what we eat have anything to do with the fact that we get dementia or Alzheimer's?
There's a lot of research about diet. One of those brain health factors after exercise is diet, and there's lots of medical research about it. There's a lot of there's a study, and it's called the MIND diet, M-I-N-D. Anyone can look it up. It's similar to the Mediterranean type of diet, but oils and fats are very important in the diet. So there's a lot of research, but my opinion is, and from reading a lot and getting advanced education on the topics, especially in America and in other areas, you can see certain countries or cities or areas around the world where there's less incidence of dementia or more, and they've attributed a lot of that to the diet, amongst other factors, the stress levels, etc. But what they say, omega oils and fats were removed a lot in America, non-fat, low-fat, non-fat, low-fat, and the brain needs those fats. So in the research, it shows a lot about those oils or fats getting supplemented into the diet through things like coconut oil, avocados, certain types of nuts, etc. But that's all in the research. You can look up MIND diet or diet for dementia, and you'll see a lot of medical research studies.
That's a good idea to look that up.
Yeah.
I wondered because my doctor was so adamant about it when I had the cancer, and he totally changed the way I ate, and of course I got over it, which everybody was real surprised,
Yeah,
but
great.
I think diet makes a big difference, especially what I'm concerned about is those people who live by themselves, that they're all alone, and who's going to go in and cook a meal for themselves? So they eat packaged food, and I don't think packaged food is that good for them.
Yeah, and processed, and not enough proteins and too much sugars. It all affects the blood sugars, diabetes, potentially, much it affects brain health. So it's very true what you say. It's very important.
That's so important for people to realize.
And hydration. It's fascinating to see when, especially in this heat of Las Vegas and other places, anyway, but to hydrate. But with cognitive impairment, you can see a significant change when someone's adequately hydrated or not in their cognitive state.
But older people
don't drink
enough water, and they say, I don't like water, I don't like the way it tastes. I can't figure out, because to me, water doesn't have a taste, so how can you dislike it? It's one of those things you just do.
It's important.
And it's so important. And I know so many older people that are just like, I'm not drinking no water. Well, okay, have vodka instead,
And pretend it's water.
I don't think it'll help.
Speaking of.
Well, this has been really interesting. I'm absolutely fascinated. Neil, thank you for bringing Arielle along, because we learned a lot today. And I think it's a big concern. People need to be more aware of what's happening, because like I said, I had no idea what was really happening with my sister. And then after she was gone, I started thinking, oh, she showed me this, she told me that, she had a couple car accidents, she couldn't find her way home, and then it started to make sense. And I thought, if I'd only been more aware, maybe I could have helped her do something about it.
It's very common. I had the same. Don't feel bad, because this is my specialty, and I had the same with my own loved one. So it was very, what's the word, insidious. It's very sneaky. It can look fine and normal until it progresses along, and then it's a concern, and then we realize, wow, this has been happening a while. So that's one of the big reasons we promote early, proactive, preventative, or
Well, I'm really glad you do. I think it's such a great idea to get people started early on, even before they start to realize I'm not remembering things.
Yeah.
Just little things like not giving that lady that tea. I offered her tea, she said yes, and then I just totally forgot about it, And then I was thinking, wait a minute, maybe I better check myself out, because am I stressed, or am I just not remembering? What's the deal here? Yeah.
Yeah, you might want to talk to her after the show.
I think I better. So thank you for being here. This has been really interesting. And it's Arielle. And how can people contact you if they would like to?
So our website,
we'll put it up on the screen if you'll just tell us.
We can do that. I'll give you all the contact details.
Okay.
The website is www.ya-partners.com.
ya-partners.com.
Yep.
Okay.
And then our phone number that will route to us is 702-833-9740.
Okay, and again, we'll put that up on the screen so people can see it. And what about you, Neil, if they'd like to have a ride over to do some physical therapy?
It's Premier Physical Therapy and Pulmonary Rehab. Email address is premierptpr@gmail.com. 702-800-6887. We can also accommodate those patients that would love to get services from Arielle, in our clinic. That's one of the plan is to bring people to our clinic, not just for physical therapy, but also to get screened and get help with YA partners or Fit Minds and all that. So you can contact both of us if you or your loved one needed help, or at least a free screening, to see if we can provide that services for you or your loved one.
Wonderful. Thank you. Thank you. I appreciate you being here.
Thank you so much.
And thank you for joining us today. I hope you got some good advice. I'm sure you did, because I learned a lot, so I'm hoping that you did too, and that you will join us again next week for another very interesting guest on What's Your Story.